That felt like a left hook. Thank you, Dr. Hangala. Your Excellency, President Hage Geingob, President of the Republic of Namibia, the land of the brave, ministers of trade on both sides, Minister Patel, Minister of Industrialization and Trade as well, Ms. Lucia Lipumbu, ministers who are here present, and our high commissioners, members of the diplomatic corps, and of course business leaders and various guests here today. It is indeed a real pleasure to be in your presence and to join this business forum between South Africa and Namibia. One feels really honored because we've had a truly productive BNC since this morning, and this report that we've just received just crowns a wonderful day that even makes it more productive. Namibia and South Africa share a common culture, a common history, beautiful landscapes, and strong political and business ties. We have common histories and must confront the common legacy of colonialism and apartheid, including substantial levels of poverty, inequality, unemployment, and underdevelopment. In many ways, this makes us brothers and sisters in arms, because, as my sister said earlier, we are seen as the most unequal societies in the world, and poverty is still so much present in our lives. And yet we are both resilient nations. Namibians have dubbed their country as the land of the brave. And earlier this morning I was saying we would like that bravery to rub on us so that we can be as brave as you are. Our economic relationship, although strong, needs to be substantially deepened. Our vision for the bilateral relationship is that we must move this relationship to a higher gear. This morning, our ministers of international relations tabled a report at the Binational Commission where they reported on up to 159 areas of agreement that they have worked on in the past few days. This process had started after His Excellency President Hage Geingob visited South Africa on a state visit earlier this year, and we were very, very pleased to see that our ministers have been at work ever since then. And this business forum was presaged by those agreements that they've been working on for all this time. I was commenting earlier that we had never really been exposed as South Africa to a binational or bilateral where up to 150 something agreements, areas of agreements had been arrived at. And Namibian officials and ministers have proven to us that they are not only brave, but they are hard workers as well, because they work very hard. And we follow Namibians. You were the first to be free, remember? So you are older than us. And I often remind His Excellency President Geingob that he's my elder brother. So I watch him very closely and I follow in his footsteps. So you lead and we want to follow. But to have had up to 150-something areas agreement is a truly outstanding feat, which I have applauded our ministers and officials for, because that is the result of real good hard work. Namibia and South Africa can use the opportunities presented by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area as a platform to position ourselves as an industrializing hub for the continent, focusing on increasing trade between ourselves as two countries, but also with the rest of the continent through a stronger partnership which we need to build and to consolidate. And I wish to highlight perhaps just 4 areas of partnership that we need to deepen, to broaden, and to highlight. The first is on green hydrogen. South Africa is in the process of considering and finalizing a green hydrogen commercialization strategy that seeks to unlock the opportunity for green hydrogen to strengthen our industrialization efforts. We have seen this as a key sector that is emerging, and we've looked at our strength in playing a key role in this sector. Now, we are very pleased that Namibia, too, is implementing its green hydrogen strategy. We can either go it alone as South Africa and Namibia, or we can position this as part of the west coast of the African continent as a key green hydrogen region. Already the prospect of this has attracted a lot of interest amongst investors, both in our respective countries as well as internationally. And we have seen a great deal of growth beginning to emerge in the Northern Cape, the northern part of our country. And I'm sure that in Namibia as well, you are already experiencing tremendous interest and growth on the back of this new sector that we have to exploit. We have a number of strengths that we can draw on, from abundant wind and solar resources to platinum. This means we can be a major exporter of green hydrogen. It's always a great pleasure when one listens to Europeans talking about this part of our continent as a source of green hydrogen where they can import this product which they so sorely need. We should now put forward a Southern African green hydrogen value proposition, initially drawing in the 3 countries on the west coast, Namibia, Angola, and South Africa, to provide green hydrogen to the rest of the world. Now, this is where a partnership, in my view, would work best. And there are a number of options. And it was a joy to listen to Ipeleng here saying, as we go forward, we should go forward as a united front. Now, we can build united fronts in a number of ways, and one of those that I've often dreamt of is how 2 countries that have common histories, 2 countries that have a common future, can combine in one shape, form, or other to build something together, to build a joint cooperation, a joint enterprise, a joint company. Now, this is the experience that I see in other countries has inspired me greatly. I have seen how the Dutch and the English were able to build a massive company in the past, like a Unilever. I have seen how European countries have built a massive company that produces products that we fly in, that we use, like Airbus. And I've often wondered, how do they get it right? Where jointly they own the stock or the equity of this entity, and they produce various components of this product that we fly in. And I've often asked myself, is it something that we could do? But in talking to President Geingob earlier, I then both thought that maybe we've got to take baby steps and start at another level and see how best the two countries can cooperate, with an eye on fostering the type of united front that Ipeleng spoke about. And we can lift this from a dream to a reality, because we have a resource that others dream of. We have a resource that they would like to have. And we have many other resources, some of which I will touch on in a little while. The second area of partnership is on developing cross-border value chains to boost industrialization and economic development. Between our two countries, we have the key elements of success. We have raw materials ranging from critical minerals to agricultural raw materials. We have technology, capital, and increasingly, we have our people who are becoming more and more skilled and who are becoming more and more educated. And though that is the most important resource that any country can have, and we have it. And we also have infrastructure that is being developed by leaps and bounds. A number of value chains can be identified. One of these relates to our use of critical minerals to ensure that manufacturing takes place on the African continent. Africa has remained poor because we sell our raw materials to the factories of Europe, Asia, and the Americas instead of selling to each other. But worse still is that our economies are based on the minerals complex, and they have been like that right from the beginning. When colonialization started, it was really given a boost and an underpin by the minerals that are our key endowment in our two respective countries. And it is this that we need to focus on and see how best we turn around. There are opportunities for partnerships in areas such as green technologies, including battery manufacturing. Now, battery manufacturing, for instance, requires the minerals that we have. Now, instead of shipping rock and sand and dust to other locales in the world, what we should be focusing on is to extract those wonderful minerals that are our endowment, and then processing them here and moving to producing the real usable products and sell them to the world. That is where wealth originates, and that is where we can get rid of poverty and inequality. Now, we need also to be ahead of the curve here. I had a chancellor of a country in the north saying they are embarrassed that they continue to import raw materials from the African continent, and they are now beginning to conscientize themselves that those materials that they mine here or extract here should first be processed here on the continent. And they see that as possibly a part of their own contribution to our development. We need to be ahead of the curve. We need to be demanding that those who would want to invest in the extraction of our minerals should at the same time begin to invest in the value chain and not only be limited just to extracting the minerals. And there is nothing wrong with us saying, if you want our minerals, we would like you to, at the same time, yourself set up a processing process or a facility, or campaign to get other investors to come and invest alongside you, so that when these minerals leave our continent, they should be products that are finished and be saleable in other parts of the world. We should be championing that. We should start talking more and more about that. I say so because when in South Africa we started talking about localization, many people thought we were dreaming. They said, do you think you can ever localize? And we started chanting that song or that message, and now many of them are getting to think more about it, and they're beginning to turn around. And we are insisting that we want localization. And we are actually talking about percentages and figures. Minister Patel has been the calculator of all this and how best we can do it. Now, in this regard, I say we should now go beyond just saying we want beneficiation, and we must now insist that we are sick and tired and poor to be selling rock, dust, and sand to the rest of the world. We want finished products to leave our shores, to leave the contours of our continent. Another area relates to the use of agricultural raw materials. To use the example of leather, instead of exporting raw hides and skins to other parts of the world, we need to use our resources. We are a continent that is replete with wildlife. And what we do, yes, we have cattle. We are well endowed in cattle that produces hides and a number of other animals as well. Instead of just shipping out those raw hides, why don't we build a strong regional value chain? The hides can be processed through tanneries and then made into footwear, very expensive handbags, leather, clothing, and other products. I've heard, and I don't know anything about handbags, that sometimes handbags that are made out of the leather in our own countries then sell in Italian shops, high-end shops, for hundreds of thousands of rands, even dollars, just a handbag. And when you think about it, we are handing over a great resource so that somebody can hold it in their hand, having paid a lot of money. We want that money here. Let it be paid here. Hopefully, I'm not saying anything negative or patriarchal about handbags. Our First Lady, Monica Gengos, I hope that you're not going to bite my ear off when I leave the stage. We can work together to identify opportunities in other value chains as well, such as automotives. And this has already been mentioned in one of the reports that has come through. By working together, we can identify commercially viable projects that are consistent with our policy frameworks as two countries and that have high levels of regional content. Our industrialization program must be rooted in setting high African content targets. This is where our localization comes in. If we fail, if we settle for weak rules of origin, then we are simply facilitating the old economic model in which Africans do not advance. And I'd like to argue that Africa's time has now come, and we should never be shy to rattle the cage, to change the way things are done, and send the message to the rest of the world that we no longer want to accept the status quo as it has often been. We must therefore speed up our work on regional trade through SACU, which we need to fully examine and to see whether SACU still serves us well, or reform it in a way where it enables us, it becomes an enabler for our industrialization future. And it can be utilized for that because it's a valuable resource. It's either we do that or we do another process around it. We can do that through SADC, the tripartite free trade agreement, and of course the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The African Continental Free Trade Area gives us an opportunity to broaden our horizons and to be more ambitious in our outlook. I therefore welcome the decision we took today in the Binational Commission to request our ministers to explore and identify areas of cooperation for the development of cross-border industrial and automotive value chains. Value chains need infrastructure, as we all know, from simple border crossing arrangements to transport corridors that facilitate trade. Regional value chains require greater cooperation on trade facilitation and logistics, and addressing non-tariff barriers that hinder the movement of goods across borders. The third area of partnership is in promoting high levels of investment in each other's economies. As we all know, South Africa, and I think indeed Namibia, are two countries that are favorable investment destination. And having had this common history, part of it having been a very ugly history, has, in dealing with that history, given us a great deal of experience, a great deal of knowledge on how we can surge ahead. Now, we both have strong regulatory frameworks, well-developed financial services sector, and favorable tax regimes, world-class infrastructure, as well as an educated workforce in both countries. I want to invite Namibian businesses who want to expand their operations, yes, to set up their operations in South Africa, and similarly to say to South African companies that you can come into Namibia and invest here. In order to boost investment, we agreed earlier today at the Binational Commission to request our ministers of trade and industry to work towards establishing a financing facility for industrial and productive development projects. Now, that is in part what our minister was also talking about. This includes cross-border value chains between Namibia and South Africa in strategic areas of our respective economies. The fourth area of partnership is in facilitating deeper private sector relations. The Business Forum is an example of the platforms we must create and build to strengthen dialogue and stimulate joint ventures. Namibian businesses must see benefits from the involvement of South African firms in Namibia, and similarly, South African businesses must also see the same. And I wish to welcome two key decisions we made, again, at the Binational Commission. As I told you, 150-something areas of agreement is a phenomenal achievement. And I'm just giving you a sprinkling of those. They are firstly to deepen cooperation, to attract the private sector investment in agreed areas of cooperation. And we can do this in a variety of ways. But what I can assure everyone here is that the two governments are fully in support of this process. They are fully behind enhancing businesses or the growth of businesses in both countries, and are fully committed to creating an environment in which private sector can invest. Secondly, to establish a South Africa-Namibia Business Council to serve as a public-private sector platform for coordinated and concerted actions. Now, this is what I would have thought you would be applauding about. Because to have discussed this at the binational, and I guess you also discussed the concept here, is a great achievement for our two countries. We haven't met since 2016. Of course, COVID interrupted, but we got busy with many other things. And now we have the opportunity to be strengthening this concept I spoke about at the BNC, that we are joined at the hip. Whether we like it or not, as the two countries, we are joined here. We are joined here at the hip, and so therefore we must work together. As they say in the classics, you can choose your friends, but you cannot choose your neighbors. And in this case, we can't choose each other. We have to work together. We have to build and strengthen the partnership that there is between us. I note with appreciation the outcomes of today's business forum. Our ministers will carefully study these outcomes and see how we can use the insights of what you've been discussing here to grow our economies. We are greatly encouraged that the success of the Binational Commission is mirrored by the success of this business forum. As I look around, 85 from South Africa, 140 or so from Namibia, basically means that you have come here to draw success. You have come here to be successful business people. And the reports I've heard just smells of success. It smells of profits. It smells of great progress. So that is how we should go forward. And I thank you for this opportunity. I am hugely encouraged. And I believe that our relationship as two countries will be emboldened by what you as business people continue doing. I did say to President Geingob that I kindly invite him, together with ministers and you as business people, to come to South Africa. And you can choose the date when you would like to come, tomorrow, next week, next year sometimes, but do come. The invitation is there. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency President Ramaphosa, for your statement. I would now like to request you to put your hands for our President Geingob. President Geingob, the floor is yours.
You may be seated. His speech was too long now. I don't know what to do. He covered everything. And given my age, I cannot stand too long. Director of Proceedings, my brother, Matamela, Cyril Ramaphosa, we have to change this. Not Cyril first, it's European, South of African name. President of Republic of South Africa, Honorable Patel. How long are you going to be there? We were colleagues, huh? When I was a Minister of Trade, he just started as a Minister of Trade. Then I left, I became a Prime Minister again. Then I struggled. First I was in the street. And then I, in the World Bank, came back, then I jumped again, became a Prime Minister. Today I'm the President, but he's still the Minister. Nice to see you. Those days already we're talking about how to strengthen our relationship. And the problem we had was SACU.
Yes.
As long as SACU was there to industrialize Namibia was impossible. So he told us once, maybe you have to choose some areas in which you can start to industrialize. And I'm still coming, because we are still in the same situation. So our Minister of Industry, and they only added to him Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. That's a new one. So don't compete with me, huh? Honorable Lucia Ipumbu, Minister of Industrialization and Trade of Republic of Namibia, all captains of industries present here, leaders of civil society, if they are here, because they also want to compete, all government officials present, members of the media. I'm delighted to be here with you today to engage in discussions on how to strengthen economic relations between Namibia and South Africa. The South Africa-Namibia Business Forum and exhibition is indeed to be a major platform that further enhances and solidifies the long-standing trade, industrial, and investment linkages between our countries. Our present economic linkages emanate from the shared socio-economic, political, historical links. Our past, present, and future are deeply intertwined. South Africans and Namibians gallantly fought together against apartheid and settler colonialism, died together, and ultimately achieved freedom together as comrades. Today, as a consequence of our victory in the first phase of the struggle, our nations both enjoy international and continental recognition for establishing and maintaining functioning and stable democracies and robust government architecture. At present, in the second phase of our struggle for economic emancipation of our peoples, our prime challenges are similar. These are poverty, inequality, unemployment of the youth mostly, and climate change. These scourges have the potential to derail our hard-earned gains. It can derail. If our young people remain unemployed, they can easily be instigated and can cause trouble. The Business Forum thus serves to further deepen our deep economic ties, to continue to support viable pathways of solving our prime challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, this Business Forum takes place at a time when the geopolitical environment is fraught with instability and uncertainty. We are witnessing a period of global inflation, impending debt crisis, as well as unfortunate armed conflicts around the world. Further, we are witnessing strategic nuances around supply chains due to stringent requirements from our major trading partners, which calls into question our competitiveness, both as single nations and within our regional economic bloc. These contextual realities thus continue to present a worrying economic and political outlook. It is thus pertinent that we ensure that our core deliberations identify viable industrial, trading, and investment cooperation opportunities to ensure collective economic prosperity. This will assist us in successfully mitigating the current uncertain international political and economic landscape, which threatens to derail our developmental objectives. One of the reasons why intra-Africa trade remains low, despite numerous free trade arrangements, is because of the low level of industrialization in most parts of Africa. It is for this reason that SADC heads of state and government decided to front-load the industrial agenda. A key feature of the SADC industrial strategy is roadmap, and roadmap is the development of regional value chains. Namibia and South Africa can be at the forefront, spearheading the industrialization of the region by meaning to be development on regional value chains. Since Namibia is a consumer of many South African goods, there must be a business case to produce some of these goods in Namibia. Moreover, there should be even a bigger case for the re-exports of such goods from Namibia to serve the larger African market. South Africa remains Namibia's largest trading partner. Our key sectors such as financial services and banking, retail, transport, and logistics are highly integrated. Indeed, to date, Namibia has deployed more than 67 billion rands into South African capital markets. These economic and financial ties enable the development of strong, efficient, and symbiotic bilateral value chains, offering vast opportunities for further collaboration. Given these facts, it is of paramount importance that our nations work together both politically and economically to ensure that we pull in the same direction to achieve the same success in the second phase of the struggle as we did with the first phase of our armed struggle. Ladies and gentlemen, ample scope of collaboration exists between the mineral beneficiation sector, as both our countries host the requisite key minerals needed for enabling a just energy transition. Namibia hosts several critical raw materials such as lithium, graphite, and recent discoveries of rare earth minerals for additional mineral beneficiation investments. The just energy transition requires us to develop high-level operation in terms of the vast potential we both have in renewable energies. Green hydrogen as an emerging sector offers an opportunity for our two countries to support the global ambition towards decarbonization. The opportunity does not end there. A rallying call to our business persons to ensure that Innovative and efficient technologies are developed on our shores is an important prerequisite. Local and regional value addition should be a core vision and a critical success factor amongst our business persons when it comes to the green hydrogen and renewable energy sector, as well as allied and associated sectors. Development of ensuring industrial and investment projects will equally hinge on efficient supportive structures. At the macro level, the launch of the terms of reference for the South Africa-Namibia Joint Trade and Investment Committee should serve as a prime policy support lever. In addition, the development of key institutional interventions, such as special economic zones, especially cross-border economic zones between us, will help ensure efficient economic outcomes. I am also appreciative of the work that will be initiated between the two Ministers of Trade and Industry to launch a Namibia-South Africa Business Council to continue fostering closer identification of investment and industrial opportunities. This will enhance our scope to actualize planned industrial and investment opportunities. Equally important is the question of access to and mobilization of capital. And once again, the two ministers work to set up an industrial development fund between our countries is a very much welcome development. The development of such a fund will surely attract much needed private capital from our highly integrated financial industry, thereby increasing the scope of viability of identified investments to access financial support. I thus look forward to the realization of these critical outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important for the private sector to imbue our collaboration with robust environmental, social, and government frameworks, as this will help us to further seek solutions to our prime challenges mentioned earlier. Robust environmental, social, and governance frameworks embolden our capacity in entrepreneurship and enterprise development and foster closer linkages between formal economy and informal economy. I would like to conclude by saying investment and trade must be balanced and inclusive to be sustainable. As you are exchanging views on potential trade and investment opportunities, the focus should be on creating win-win outcomes. Therefore, let us take the advantage of our abundant natural resources as well as our youthful populace to ensure that we develop a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. Together, as neighbors, brothers, sisters, and friends, united in our quest for economic emancipation and shared prosperity. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your statement. Ladies and gentlemen, as has been stated, our two honorable ministers will now proceed to go and sign the agreement. That is Minister Ipumbu and Minister Patel. And my colleague Charity Muya, the CEO of NCCI, will take over. Honorable ministers, the table is ready for you.
Your Excellencies, while the Honorable Ministers are preparing to sign the statements of intent, I'd please like to make sure that the members of the media, are you ready? We're set? We want to just drive this program as fast as possible. Thank you very much for according me this opportunity. Unfortunately, Dr. Hangala has to rush to catch a flight. I was trying to lobby with the protocol whether he could actually get a ride with you, Your Excellency. I failed on that one. So for the private sector, I think this is a very defining moment for us. I was a little bit not happy when I was seeing the applause when our presidents are speaking, but at least for this particular one, I really want us to make sure that it really, really sounds on the ground. Let's give a round of applause to our ministers at their side in this part. This is for us, and as the private sector, particularly the Chamber of Commerce and our counterparts in South Africa, we have to make sure that we drive this process. What, as the private sector, would normally try is that the government must set the policies and they must remove all the bottlenecks, and we will come and actually do our part. So this gathering, I hope we can all attest to that. It shows the political will from our two governments. Now, Your Excellencies, this morning, the Honorable Minister Patel actually, set the tone that this is not just a gathering, but it's actually kind of a date for the private sector. And the word was actually used that we are actually trying to cement a love relationship here. As we do in marriages, we have to make vows. So I believe that these statements of intent actually clarify the vows that we are making for ourselves. So thank you very much. Another round of applause for that. It is sealed, and we all have a commitment. We look forward to make sure that this is implemented. At this juncture, may I now call on Honorable Ibrahim Patel, Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition of South Africa, to do the closing and vote of thanks. Thank you.
Excellencies, President Geingob and President Ramaphosa, First Lady Monica Gengos, Honorable Ipumbu, and the members of the Cabinet of Namibia and South Africa who are present here today, High Commissioners, business leaders, officials from both countries, dear friends and colleagues. What a productive day it's been. We've seen today the two heads of state leading us in saying this relationship is solid, but we want more. Stretch, lift, scale it up. We've seen ministers concluding agreements with 150 actions ranging from all sorts of things, from minerals to water to higher education to industrial policy to trade matters. We've also seen, I should say, Excellency President Geingob, you will recall we worked together on competition matters many years back. At the time, there was no formal relationship between Namibia and South Africa in competition. And Walmart came to our markets and made a bid to buy Massmart. And the Namibian government, led by President Geingob, was at the time, President Geingob was the Minister of Trade and Industry, challenged the terms of the merger and wanted more from Namibian entrepreneurs, Namibian workers, Namibian women, something tangible. And he and his ministry was taken to court, and we in South Africa immediately reached out, and the two ministries worked together, and we were able to defeat that effort to undermine the legitimate aspirations of the Namibian people. And we've seen now real benefits flowing from that. So thank you, President. President Ramaphosa spoke about 4 areas of partnership. again, Gob spoke about the important role we see the business forum playing. That is another layer to that very strong relationship that the two countries have. And so what we hope to get out of the discussion today is some real tangibles. We have 4 key areas, value chains that were identified. And businesses have sat here and not only said, we like to do green hydrogen, we'd like to do value chains covering the agricultural area. They put in place key elements, the actions that are required. And so we will have our hands full now to implement. The last binational commission was held 7 years ago in a world that was very different. After that binational commission, we've seen the biggest pandemic in more than 100 years that led to the deepest recession in the global economy since the Second World War. We've seen floods and droughts. We've seen changes with wars in other parts of the world that impact on food prices and fertilizer prices of local communities. And in spite of that, our economies showed enormous resilience. We're not down. It's been a tough period, but we showed that resilience. And that resilience has been founded on the dynamism of our private sectors, of the ability of firms to thrive in spite of the challenges, in spite of the difficult conditions, in spite of the headwinds. Imagine 7 years of tailwinds, 7 years where the next phase of the partnership benefits from new things, not only the foundation laid